Hi there, and welcome back to your Daily Market Podcast. My name is MaryKlaire Pelk, and I am your host. I'm the Director of Operations for the Finance and Econ Club, and I am here with Charlie Hurst and special guest Roman Xinopoulos. Why don't you guys go ahead and introduce yourselves?
Yeah, I'm also the Director of Operations, and I'm a freshman here at GCU.
I'm the Director of Public Events for Finance and Econ. I'm the Vice President for Financial Planning Club, and I'm in the tech sector for the Student Management Investment Fund.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Today, we will be going over a quick overview of how the markets have moved, as well as give you guys some tips and tricks for investing specifically as college students. So, looks like today, the S&P was up 0.54%, the Dow was up 0.66%, and NASDAQ was up 0.77%. So, looks like we are doing pretty good today. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think that's mainly due to the war with Iran. I saw that they're trying to de-escalate it right now, and I think that's probably one of the major turn of events for it, I think. With that, obviously, there's going to be a lot less fear in the markets, and yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. Just kind of piggybacking off that, just saw oil barrels are down less than $100 for the first time today in a while. I do believe that global kind of events with Iran is a big factor into how our markets are doing today.
Yeah, and obviously with oil as well, like we've had so many major conflicts with obviously Venezuela, who's a major oil producer, and then Iran as well. So
absolutely, yeah, back to that.
Yeah, so these are all some pretty micro numbers and stats and things like that. So zooming out, how does that look practically for like how it affects us and day to day and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, we can see it from a consumerism standpoint, from gas prices, oil prices. We see it from even our food perspective. As milk and egg costs go higher, we can see it with car companies. We can see it from just a general market perspective.
Yeah,
and obviously the fear with that. Investors and everybody in general, even if you're not an investor, just creates fear within the world. And obviously with oil prices, when there's fear in the world, everybody's going to go and fill up their cars with gas. And that's obviously what raises the demand of it.
Yeah. So what you guys are talking about is mostly volatility, right? Yeah. It's when the market is moving up and down, people don't really know where it's headed. And that can provide a lot of risks to investors, but also a lot of opportunities. What do you guys think about that?
I think with inflation rates so high, that I agree that, investors are scared to invest right now. We do see kind of the central banks moving on monetary policy to adjust for inflation by keeping interest rates high. This can affect bonds and other things like that, but we're seeing definitely a take around to stabilize inflation, which can help investors.
Yeah, monetary policy is a big thing that tends to drive our market quite a bit, but it can also be quite a confusing concept for anybody who doesn't understand. Do you want to explain to us real quick how that works, Charlie?
Monetary policy?
Yeah, like the Fed, the rates.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So basically every quarter, right, the Fed meets. And it used to be Jerome Powell, but I think he stepped down.
I think
I don't know who took his spot, but anyways, the leader of the Fed, Jerome Powell, would lead these meetings with the 12 members of the Fed, and they would talk about how the economy is doing and what they can do to help every American citizen and reduce inflation and a bunch of other things that go with it, but inflation's the main focus in those meetings. And then after that, Jerome Powell would go live on the news or on air and talk about the decisions that the Fed made.
Yeah, so this decides the rate at which people and businesses borrow money. It affects mortgages, bonds, all of that sort of stuff that trickles all the way down from the big businesses down to the consumers. That affects all of that in day-to-day life. So speaking of day-to-day life, there's a lot of different things that college students specifically have to watch. There can be many different factors that drive our day-to-day spending, like gas prices and things like that. And I don't know about you guys, but especially for me as a college student, sometimes I can find it difficult to figure out where I need to be saving, where I need to spend, and all of that sort of stuff, which brings us on to our topic today of budgeting. How would you guys recommend some tips and tricks and your thoughts on that specifically for college students?
I believe controlling your finances are absolutely important. I mean, I'm a college student, I struggle. Gas is expensive, food's expensive, everything's expensive.
Yeah.
But we can see that by controlling your own finances, maybe even grabbing ride shares, for instance, for gas, driving in increments that you believe won't spend a lot of gas. A lot of people are going on trips and things like that. Reducing that, reducing food intake maybe, or buying at Aldi instead of at Whole Foods. There's a lot of options to cut down on costs.
Yeah, a big thing for me is I always take Ubers. I don't have my car down here as well, but especially with gas prices so high, Ubers are like critical right now. You can save so much money by taking a Lyft or an Uber or even a Waymo, because we have those here. But yeah, I think that's a big thing, as well as like when you have a job and you're working, you always need to save. Me personally, like I have a lot of hobbies that I like to spend money on, but I'm always saving money. I'm not constantly spending, and you can take money out of your paycheck to do whatever you want with it, but make sure you're keeping 80 to 90% of that and putting it into your savings.
Yeah, so obviously some of us have jobs, some of us don't, which means some of us have incomes and some of us don't. But for those of us who get a paycheck and have income and stuff like that, do you have like a specific amount that you would recommend someone puts to saving, spending, and investing?
There's always the 50-30-20 rule. Obviously, I'm sure a lot of people have heard of it. But I do believe that first off, we tithe. That's my personal opinion, at least. 10% always goes to tithe to giving. And then from there, that's when the 50-30-20 rule is applied. Saving is crucial. Investing is crucial, especially in these times when the market is at honestly a good point, I think, at least. So, yeah, I think those are.
Yeah, and there's a lot of like financial calculators out there too. If you literally just look one up on the internet, you can see, depending on how much you invest into the markets each month, it'll tell you how much money you're going to have by a certain age that you're at. So that's like a very good tool that a lot of college students can use.
Yeah. I'm pretty unfamiliar with that 50-30-20 rule that you talked about. So
Yeah.
is it 50% in spending, or like what are those
50%
categories?
Save, 30%. I think it's 30% save and then 20% emergency fund, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Or food or something. But I remember it all the way throughout college and high school. That was
Interesting.
something.
I've never actually heard of that before. Have you?
Yeah,
tried?
I've not, no.
Interesting. I like that though. That's a really good way to think about it.
Look it up, guys. Look it up.
Yeah, we will. Any big mistakes that you guys have learned to steer clear from, or things that you see as like red flags that tend to get a lot of college students?
Food, for sure. I think
Yeah.
a lot of us
That's a
like to
big
go
one.
out and we like to spend money on food. And it's very, very easy.
Yeah.
But I would say cutting back on outside food and making more in the apartment, for sure.
Yeah, I know a lot, like we recently had spring break. A lot of college students like to take trips over spring break. So maybe just finding a cheaper VRBO or a cheaper plane ticket. Obviously, plane tickets are through the roof right now with oil prices so high. So wherever you can save money, just try to save as much as you can.
Yeah. I think that one of the best ways to spend money or to save money on food, something I always do, is I go to PB&J's. You can get a big thing of bread from Juniper Mart or Hurst or whatever, some peanut butter, some jelly, and you got like however many meals that makes. That's always my go-to
Yeah.
if I'm ever on a road trip or anything like that.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
But yeah, any other things you'd like to add as advice?
Save, save, save. I think it's most important. I think that we have, wives and kids coming soon for most of us, hopefully, and you should keep them into consideration, keep the Lord in consideration, always give, have a servant's heart. Yeah. So,
Generosity, too, is a big one.
absolutely. Yeah.
Especially for those of us that do tithe and that do give. Like, it's always very important to keep generosity as something to not let slip under the rug.
Yeah, absolutely. I went on a missions trip about a week ago during my spring break, and they give. So I think if we can give, they can give.
Where'd you go to?
Or if they can give, we can give. Dominican Republic. I went to
cool.
Bates, is these communities, and they were giving with what little they had. So
That's awesome.
It always goes back to the story of the woman who gave her last coin, wasn't it?
Coin. Yeah.
Yeah. I always think about that because you don't want to give with just the extra and the leftovers. Like, God will always provide, and he will always give. You will always have a way through.
Yeah, whatever you do to the least of these, you're also doing to me. And so, yeah, always.
Yeah, and even if you don't have like that income either, you can give in other ways. So like part of the Finance and Economics Club, we have Jaden Nelson who runs the community outreach,
Yeah.
and we go to Feed My Starving Children, and we do stuff like that. So even if you don't have an income, you can still serve in other
Yeah,
ways.
give with your time instead of your
Exactly.
money, because at the end of the day, time is money. So,
Exactly.
all right. Well, thank you for tuning in to your Daily Market podcast. I hope you guys had something to take away.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.